Hey, good day, folks. Welcome back live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. It's always a joy, this class. He's been sharing with us the depths of the book of Genesis, and there's just so many wonders in there, folks. If you've come from a different background, the Hebrew people have the source that links all the way back to Moses and the formation of the Hebrew people, and it's a joy to hear these golden nuggets, these treasures of Torah come alive for us, and I was just chatting with Moshe Goldberg, Rabbi Goldberg's father, because it's Father's Day here in the West, and I know I was chatting with Peter here in the UK as well. They celebrate it there, and I had said to Mr. Goldberg, if you could give us an excerpt on what it's like to be a father, especially with a father, a Rabbi Goldberg. I mean, we appreciate you and your wife raising such a wonderful gentleman such as Rabbi Goldberg. Rabbi, I know I'm just kind of springing this, but I was hoping your father might say a word. But you've jumped in. If you want to take over the class, it's your class, sir.
Hey. My father is always before me.
I only want to say that we're here to listen to Rabbi Chaim, not to listen to ourselves. But I said before you went live, there's one type of person that nobody will ever be jealous of. It's written, I don't remember exactly where. And that is a father or parents will never be jealous of their son. And we certainly are watching Rabbi Chaim develop, and he's getting much further than we did in a lot of things. And that's the way it should be.
Oh, man, that's so beautiful. It's such a joy to have you two sit in our class. I want to thank you for raising such a wonderful son. He's an educator in his own right, and to just see him jump into as being a rabbi and, just the call of the Hebrew people and sharing to the 70 nations. It means so much to all of us. We've got people tuned in from all over. We got Anna up in Norway. We got Tony down in Arizona. We got Chris. We got Hans over in the UK. We got many other people. We got Netzek in the Czech Republic, and Scotty down in Tennessee, Amuela, and many, many, many more folks. So let's just jump right in and learn some Torah. Rabbi, you got the stage, sir.
Good evening. You started with embarrassing me, so it's okay. You will pay for that one day. So let's start. First of all, I want to refer a bit to things that we spoke last time. I asked you to look on a few chapters in Genesis, so I want to do some sort of a glance on Genesis and Moses and the differences. So we all know with Noah, when God said to him, I'm going to bring the flood. So Noah asked, so what with me? So God told him, do an ark and you will be saved. But there's a very big, I would say, question, debate, and not really a clear answer. Why Noah didn't pray for his generation? Yes, hi, Mama Jean. Hi, good to see you.
Hi, sorry, I'm late.
It's okay. So there's a question: why Noah didn't pray for his generation? And especially this question is raising up when we are looking on chapter 18. Chapter 18 is a I opened it already. Hey, here it is. In chapter 18, where God is sending 3 angels to speak with Abraham, we can learn here something very important, by the way, so I'll show this. While he is saying to them that he saw the 3 angels coming next to him, in front of him, and he said to God, please God, forgive me because I want to serve those people, to give them food. And then what is he saying? He's saying, please read verse number 5.
Verse 5, and I will take a morsel of bread and sustain your hearts. Afterwards you shall pass on, because you have passed by your servant. And they said, so shall you do as you have spoken.
How much food is he offering them?
A morsel.
A little bit, right? On the other side, when we look what he's doing, read verse number 6 and 7, 6, 7, and 8. Okay.
All right. Verse 6, and Abraham hastened to the tent of Sarah, and he said, hasten 3 seah of meal and fine flour, knead and make cakes. And to the cattle did Abraham run, and he took a calf, tender and good, and he gave it to the youth, and he hastened to prepare it. And he took cream and milk and the calf that he had prepared, and he placed them before them, and he was standing over them under the tree, and they ate.
So he's saying very few words, and on the other side, just a moment. Why were you hearing you twice? Something with it. Okay. No, I can close him if it's possible, if it's needed. So what we see here, that Abraham, as a righteoushood, is speaking very few, very little words, okay, not big words, not fancying himself or something, but he is doing much more than what he is speaking. So this is something, by the way, that we are learning from Abraham, how normal Gentile need to work in this world, okay? Not supposed to say a lot of words. He's supposed to do more than what he's saying. And this is what's happening with Abraham. But let's continue on, because it's very important what's happening then. First of all, they are promising him a son another year, okay? And here we also find that Sarah is laughing and everything else. And then God is saying to himself, please read verse 17, 18, and 19. No. So 17, 18, and 19 till 21, okay? From 17 till 21.
17. And the Lord said, shall I conceal from Abraham what I am doing? And Abraham will become a great and powerful nation, and all the nations of the world will be blessed in him. For I have known him because he commands his sons and his household after him, that they should keep the way of the Lord to perform righteousness and justice, in order that the Lord bring upon Abraham that which he spoke concerning him. And the Lord said, since the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah has become great, and since their sin has become very grave, I will descend now and see whether according to her cry, which has come to me, they have done. I will wreak destruction upon them, and if not, I will know.
So basically, God is saying to him, more or less, very similar to what God spoke or said to Noah. But the difference is that with Noah, when God said he's going to bring a flood, also Noah is supposed to be vanished in the flood. So it's very obvious that Noah will say, so what with me? But here when God is saying to Abraham, I'm going to see what's happening with Sodom and Gomorrah, and the most reasonable thing is to think that if Sodom and Gomorrah are doing so many bad things, and we know that they didn't accept any people from outside, and they were very horrible people, so they are doing the opposite things of Abraham. If I was Abraham, I would have been very happy. God is doing my job. God is wiping off from the earth the people who are very bad. And what we see is really surprising us, because we see now that suddenly Abraham is taking himself, and please read verse number 23 till 25.
23. And Abraham approached and said, will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? Perhaps there are 50 righteous men in the midst of the city. Will you even destroy and not forgive the place for the sake of the 50 righteous men who are in the midst? Far be it from you to do such a thing as this, to put to death the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be like the wicked. Far be it from you. Will the judge of the entire earth not perform justice?
Suddenly we see that Abraham is not only, he's starting to fight, to debate in front of God, and to say to him, look, it's unreasonable. I don't accept this thing. For sure there are few people that are good there, and you must forgive to all of the city, no, not only to take the bad people outside. Let's try to find the way that they will get fixed, and not to destroy them. So this is a very big difference between Abraham and between Noah. Noah didn't pray to others. He felt for himself that there is a problem. Therefore, he built for himself an ark, and that's it. Abraham is starting to fight against God, to try to help, to assist the other people. Maybe he will manage to bring them to the righteous way. And it's continuing on. We don't need to read all of this. This is what I referred you to read. And this is the first difference that we see between Noah and Abraham. We have a very nice parallel for that. But we say usually that in Canada, for example, in British Columbia, there are times that it's very cold there, right, Dan? It's very cold in the winter.
Well, for Canada, no, we're not so bad. We're cold, but it's not like living in the Northwest Territories.
Okay, but still, it's not nice. It's not easy to live outside in the middle of the winter, right? So
Of course not, Rabbi. Of course not.
when someone is very cold outside, few people are cold outside. There are two ways how to defeat this cold. One is to take a coat. But when I'm taking a coat and we are 20 people outside, so I'm getting warm, but my friends, maybe they don't have a coat, maybe they do have a coat. But if I will do a bonfire, okay, so we can all sit down around the bonfire, all of us will get hot. All of us will get the heat from the bonfire. And this is the difference between Noah and Abraham. What Noah did, he built up a coat around him. He called it a boat instead of a coat. He called it an ark. We called it an ark. So he built a coat around him. So he saved himself. It's very nice. But the main thing is not only to save yourself, it's to save also others, just like Abraham did here. By the way, when we're speaking about the Noahite people, one of the things that we are saying that you need to take the responsibility of, like Abraham, also to try to do bonfire to others, that others will get warm from those message, from those words that we're spreading around the world. I will speak in a moment. I will speak about things that I had this week, and we'll go on and we'll continue on. The next chapter I asked you to see is in it wasn't in Genesis, it was in Exodus. It was chapter, if I remember correctly, it was chapter 34, 34, right? Do you all remember? It's recorded in the last, it was 33. My mistake. I don't know, maybe who read it, who didn't. It's
a big book, Rabbi.
It's with a lot of things.
32 of them.
32, I said, right? 32, it's much reasonable, 32. It's okay. In chapter 32, what we see, yeah, exactly, I said the exact chapter, you see. Let's see a few sentences about the golden craft. Who doesn't know the golden craft? This is one of the things that along the history, all the time, people say to us, you see, you're all sinners. You did the golden craft. So please read the first 4 verses of this chapter. Sorry. Here it is. Yes.
Okay, verse 1. When the people saw that Moses was late in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered against Aaron, and they said to him, "Come on, make us gods that will go before us, because this man, Moses, who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him." Aaron said to them, "Remove the golden earrings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them, those earrings, to me." And all the people stripped themselves of the golden earrings that were on their ears and brought them to Aaron. He took them from their hands, fashioned it with an engraving tool, and made it into a molten calf, upon which they said, "These are our gods, O Israel, who have brought you up out of the land of Egypt."
So we see here the sin of the golden calf. By the way, why Aaron asked that remove the golden earrings from the wives and sons? Because he was sure that when he will tell them to take the golden ears from the wives, they will tell each wife will say to herself, "Why do I need to give this golden earrings?" So it will take time. But it didn't take any time, and they did it. So they did the golden craft, and they gave all these golden things to everybody else, to this golden craft. And now God is giving a very, very, very tempting promise to Moses. Okay, let's please see for a moment. Um, First of all, read verse number. We need to read a few verses. Okay. Okay. 7, 8, 9, and 10, please.
7. And the Lord said to Moses, Go, descend, for your people that you have brought up from the land of Egypt have acted corruptly. They have quickly turned away from the path that I have commanded them. They have made themselves a molten calf, and they have prostrated themselves before it, slaughtered sacrifices to it, and said, These are your gods, O Israel, who have brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, they are a stiff-necked people. Hey, Paul.
No, read verse number 10. It's very important.
Oh, now leave me alone, and my anger will be kindled against them, so that I will annihilate them, and I will make you into a great nation.
Wow. What a promise. When God is saying something like that, he will, if he's promising, he will do it. God is saying to Moses, let me replace you with them. Now, think about this. God, who created this world, who said that they will take out, he will bring the Israel people to Egypt, and he will take them out. And he did all of those things. He is the Almighty who can do everything. He is not breaking his words against the forefathers of Israel because Moses is part of their kids. On the other side, he is going to give Moses one of the most incredible things. He is tempting him. He's telling him, listen, those people, let's move them aside. You are going to be the descendants of Israel. You're going to be the next generations of Israel. From you, I'm going to take out this big generation of Israel. If I was Moses, again, if I was Abraham, if I was Moses, I hope I will manage to speak with him one day in the other world. But today, if I was Moses, it's very tempting. Why not? Okay, God, thank you very much. Let's go on this. Let's sign the contract. But Moses is doing something else. Moses here is saying one of the most important things that happened. Just a moment. I want to show. First of all, read verse number 11, and then I will find the most important, another very important verse that he's saying. Please read verse number 11.
Verse 11, Moses pleaded before the Lord his God and said, Why, O Lord, should your anger be kindled against your people whom you have brought up from the land of Egypt with great power and with a strong hand?
And he's saying in verse 11, or more than that, regret from the heat of your anger and reconsider the evil intended for you people. Okay, so he's really praying for them. So we see here something even more than Abraham. While Abraham said or was praying for someone or for some people that are far from him, different from him, it wasn't regarding him. Here God is promising Moses to become the most important person in this world, even above than what he is today. And Moses is saying, no, enough is enough. Those are the people, continue with them. Don't try to do all those switches around, not with me. There's another verse, and by the way, we can see in verse number 14. Please read verse number 14.
14, the Lord then reconsidered the evil he had said he would do to his people.
In some sort of a way, we can look on this like it's the court in heaven, what to do with the Hebrew people. What to do with them. From one side, it says in the Ten Commandments that you're not allowed to worship other gods. On the other side, the Hebrew people did worship the golden calf. So there's a debate in the court of heaven between God, the judge, and the person, Moses, who was there representing the Hebrew people. And they had a debate, what exactly to do with those people. And Moses won. Moses won. But we see another level of doing the maximum for helping the generation that you're inside it. It's very important. This is what I wanted to show last time. It's not only a wording, but it's also a full thing. Now, I must admit that in the Hebrew tradition, there is a very interesting question. If Noah was able to do something with his generation, he tried and he didn't manage. He tried and they were so in a low situation of morality that they didn't listen to him. So we understand that Abraham already was in a higher level of the generation, and Moses was in even a higher level, even though we know that those people didn't went to Israel, but only the next generation. But this is part of the things that we are asking or that we are saying. At the end, there's also another. Oh, here it is. Please read verse number 31 and 32. 31, 32, and then we'll see God's answer in 33. Okay. Please.
31. And
Yes.
Moses returned to the Lord and said, "Please, this people has committed a grave sin. They have made themselves a god of gold. And now, if you forgive their sin, but if not, erase me now from your book which you have written." And the Lord said to Moses, "Whoever has sinned against me, him I will erase from my book."
We see that Moses is really, he's willing to kill himself, but that they will stay alive. It's even one step ahead. It's not only saying to God, I'm not tempting from all of your things, all of the goodies that you want to give me. Also, more than that, he's saying to God, listen, I don't want to be in your game. I don't want to be in this game here. Erase me. I don't want to be at all. Go start everything from the beginning with someone else. Please me, throw aside. I'm willing to die for them. This is even a higher level of understanding. So God is answering him, Moses, don't. There's also a limit with God. God is saying to him, listen, Moses, with all of the respect, I'm not going to erase you. I'm going to erase those who did those sins. But we see here 3 stages: Noah, Abraham, and Moses. Now, we need to understand that inside Noah, the seeds of Abraham and the seeds of Moses are already inside. So that Noah didn't do that, it's not because he wasn't, I will say, great enough. It was also related to the generation that he was inside and everything else. And this is bringing us much more responsibility, because today, if we are today in a situation where we have more and more people who are opening their eyes and starting to listen, starting to see what's happening. So we know that we are in a stage where people are willing to accept this difference, this I would say the knowledge of the Old Testament, the knowledge of the Bible. So this is our responsibility to speak loud, to speak clear. So I'm doing it with you, with all of you. But again, you're doing it with others, and we are all continuing on to spread the word outside, because the people today have much more the ability to understand, to listen to those things. And this is what I wanted to show from those 3 chapters that I sent you last week to see them. Questions till now? Yes, let's see everybody. Yes, everybody here. Okay. Are there any questions about this part? Yes, done.
Yeah, Rabbi, I want to ask because here's a big question. Here, what you're talking about is that Abraham interceded. He interceded for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. And here you're talking about Moses interceding with God for the people that made the golden calf. Is this something that we know coming out of Christianity, that they hold firmly that a mediator is absolutely necessary, and I think they cancel out a personal obligation. My question being, is it possible that they got this mistake of a mediator by these behaviors or these actions? I mean, it's a responsible thing to aid, to, like you say, with a coat to keep yourself warm, but then build a fire to help those in your community. But the Christian notion takes things far too far in the sense of saying one man can atone for others' sins. I understand that, but the notion of somebody mediating for another, is there can you just decipher where the limits lie, or where it's off balance or out of bounds Where is it outside of the line to say that somebody can mediate for the world? Let's just say. I mean, I know it's a big question, Rabbi, and I hope I haven't put you on the hot seat because it sounds like I'm going to pay for this one too.
I'm okay. First of all, as you can see, always I'm really honoring everybody and trying to be also very honoring also the Christian world. On the other side, there are a few mistakes, and this is one of the mistakes that the Christian world is doing. And I will explain this. I'll try to explain this in the most simplest way that we can do. The big mistake that is happening here is that to do differentiation between what I think or believe and what I do in actions. Okay? You can't be a sinner in your actions and just say in your words, I believe in someone, and that's it. Then, therefore, you will manage to get your world to come. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that happened in the beginning of when the Christians started, that they did this separation between the actions and the thoughts, because you need to have harmony between your thoughts, your words, and your actions.
Right.
And if you're not living in harmony with yourself, don't expect that God will accept you as a decent person. Now, the immediate person, there are righteous people. There are all over the world. There are people who are righteous. It's not only limited to the Hebrew people. It's not limited to the Hebrew people. We said it more than once. People could be righteous also if they're not Hebrew people. And those righteous people are, I will say it like that. And this is also what happened with Abraham. Let's look on this in a different way. Okay. Also, Abraham and the God had a debate in the court of heaven. What exactly to do with Sodom and Gomorrah? But the question is, why? Why suddenly Sodom and Gomorrah became something that God decided to put in a trial? Why?
In trial, yeah.
Why? It's because there was Abraham there. Now, Abraham, he was accepting people from outside. He was dealing with people with a lot of what we call chesed, a lot of good deeds. And then when you see Abraham on one side and you see Sodom and Gomorrah on the other side, you're saying to yourself, okay, now we need to bring Sodom and Gomorrah to trial because they need to learn from Abraham, and they didn't. So those righteous people basically are pushing the world to become even better than what it is. This is their main, I will say, obligation. And also they are praying for the world so that it will manage to come to this stage, to this level. While those people who are not coming to this level, like Sodomite and Gomorrah, okay, they're being judged. Why didn't you put your actions to this level? Like Abraham. Okay? Mm-hmm. So it's not that you're taking someone and you're saying, okay, because he is so righteous, so we can do whatever we want to do and he will rescue us from all sorts of bad things. No, it's not working like that. This person is lifting up this world one level ahead.
Right.
And all of the people around supposed to behave on the same level, or at least to try to behave on the same level. And he's praying for them, and he's trying to teach them. And this is how the world is running up, you know. It's also, by the way, in the Israel community, in the Israel, I will say, nation, we have also those levels, okay? We have the priest, the Kohanim, we have the Levitics, the Leviim, and we have the Hebrew people. And there are things that the priests are not allowed to do, and the Hebrew people are allowed to do. Why that? Because we also have those levels to push us up, I will say it like that, to become another level upper. And this is basically how the world is working. Okay, the world is working by that we have those who are pushing us all the time to the upper level. But it's not saying that because they're pushing us up, we can lie, rest on the beach, and say to ourselves, we can be sinners, we can do whatever we want to do. They will rescue us. They won't rescue us if, God forbidden, someone will behave like Sodom and Gomorrah. He will be finished like Sodom and Gomorrah. That's it. This is what will happen. Okay. And also, by the way, we didn't read all the verses of the golden craft, but this is what happened in the golden craft. The 3,500 people who did this golden craft, they died. They died immediately, in the same days. They died. Why? Because they did a sin. And in those days, in the days of the desert, when the Hebrew nation were in the desert on the way to Israel, where God was with them inside, everyone who did the sin, they got punishment. And this is what happened with them also. So it's not that those people who are leading us will manage to rescue us from everything and that's it. If we won't do our efforts, we won't be able to be rescued. Okay,
Wow.
this is how it's working, and we can see this. Just we need to read the verses in the right way, not to try to
Right.
twirl them around.
So just because Abraham interceded for Sodom and Gomorrah and Moses interceded for the people, doesn't give any religion out there the authority to say, see, someone else interceded for the whole world, so you're covered. And I don't know if you've ever familiar with the old UK movie Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. It was a kind of a comedy movie from the 60s. The point of the matter is the little boy gets a golden ticket inside a chocolate bar, and he's allowed to go to this magical factory. And the reality is that's how a lot of them see it, without having to put in any hard work or any effort. Rabbi, thanks for sharing that.
No, no, if there are any more questions, I will answer. But I must say that it's amazing because what you did here, you brought me to one of the things that one of the most interesting things that I had in the last week. I want to share it here with all of you. I have in myself, inside me, I have also a debate how to continue this on. There is a group of bishops, Christian bishops, who asked me to teach them some of the Genesis thoughts that, how the Hebrew people are learning Genesis. Now, they are not Noahide people. They are Christian bishops. Okay. So I said to them, you know what? I'm willing to give 2 lessons. And then I don't know if I will continue because, the gap between us is so big. And okay. So I gave them only an introduction. And from the introduction of how to learn the Hebrew Bible, and we know those things we said here more than once, the difference of the language, the difference of the prophecy. We're not in the prophecy era. That there are a lot of wordings that the meaning of them in the Hebrew nation are different than in the world today. Those things that I spoke with them, and they insisted since then for the last few days to explain to me that I need to be very careful because they believe in Jesus, and
Twisted, yeah.
I can't say that Jesus wasn't prophet. It's we're only coming towards the next lesson, and I was asking myself, you know what? It's interesting. It's interesting. Those are this is the people, and it's okay. Maybe they are not still. I said to them, I'm not saying all the time. I'm not going with signs. Moses, sorry, Jesus wasn't a prophet, but I do think that there is a very big difference between the era of the prophecy with the old with the Bible and the era without the prophecy with a lot of wisdom. There is a difference, and we need to acknowledge that. And if we want to acknowledge this first point, it will be very hard to continue on. And then, and this is things that you're saying, it's related to the things that you're saying, because this is what they try to tell me all the time. They told me a few times, but we believe that Jesus is rescuing us and everything that we are doing, Jesus is rescuing us. They said to me the same sentences. And I know exactly what the Christian world is thinking. And now I decided that this, now, in the next coming half an hour, we're going to learn something from the Bible, but not from Genesis. We're going to learn something from what we read yesterday in the Parsha of Korach. Now, this is also related to another thing. A lot of Noachite people asked me in the last 2 weeks, are they allowed to read the Parsha that the Hebrew people are reading? So the answer is yes. Read the Parsha. Read the text. Read it. Yes, why not? Read the text. Learn the text. Even if you're just knowing the knowledge of the text, read it with Rashi, read it without Rashi. Read it. Read the text. So I want to read for a moment what happened there in Korach. Korach, this was the last Parsha. I'm going to share it on the screen. Be aware then that you're going to read parts. We're going to learn it in a very simple way, but also the simple way will show us the differences and will bring us to one of the most important mindsets that we need to have when we're learning the Bible, and the difference between the Bible and all of the other holy scriptures that are written around us, our holy scriptures, all sorts of holy scriptures. Okay, so let's share again the screen and let's read a bit from the Parsha of the Korach. Here it is, it's coming. Okay, it's Bamidbar Numbers chapter 16, and let's start to read it. And
start at number 1.
Yes. First of all, let's start to read the first
Korah, the son of
four verses. Yes.
Korah, the son of Azar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, took himself to one side along with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On the son of Peleth, descendants of Reuben. They confronted Moses together with 250 men from the children of Israel, chieftains of the congregations, representatives of the assembly, men of repute. They assembled against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You take too much upon yourselves, for the entire congregation are all holy, and the Lord is in their midst. So why do you raise yourself above the Lord's assembly?" Moses heard and fell on his face.
First of all, let's understand a bit what exactly Korach is claiming. Korach is claiming something very interesting. In a moment ago, I explained with your question, Dan, that when we have righteoushood, it's not that he is managing to rescue all of the people around from the sins that they are doing, but more it's that we have a righteoushood that is like a light, that we are trying to behave like him or to reach our deeds in the same level. And this is why we have also levels. This is why we have levels. We have people who are righteous. We need to confirm. We need to know that this is a reality. And we have people who are righteous, and we have people who are trying to become righteous. I'll say it like that. Suddenly comes here someone and said, "For the entire congregation are all holy." I think that this wording, okay, this is exactly what will be said another 2,000 years with someone else who will come and say, "Who said that only the Israeli people are holy than the others? Who said? The entire congregation, all of the people of the world are all holy." Okay? How come you decided that you are the priest and you are the Levitax and not us? By the way, Korach himself was a Levitac, and he had one of his grandchildren was Samuel. He came from Korach. Okay? And Moses here is a Moses that we know that he was very. Let me show this also. Let's jump for a moment to verse number 12. And let's remember the wording, okay? That please read verse number 3 here.
Verse 3. Now this man Moses was exceedingly humble, more so than any person on the face of the earth.
Okay, so we know that Moses was a very, very humble person. He was very, how do you say, a nava. He was very, how do you say anava?
Humility,
Humility, right. The word humility. Moses was very humility. He was the most humility person in this world. And here, when he heard that the just a moment, it is the previous chapter, when he heard from Korach and his people that this claim, the entire congregation are all holy, Moses heard and fell on his face. And let's see Rashi for a moment to see why he was so upset, why he was so afraid, I will say. Please read Rashi and fell on his face.
And fell on his face because of the rebellion, for this was already their fourth offense. When they sinned with the calf, Moses pleaded in Exodus 32:11. By the episode of the complainers, Moses prayed, 11:2. With the spies, Moses said to God, but the Egyptians will hear in chapter 14, verse 13. But now, at Korah's rebellion, he became disheartened. Literally, his hands were weakened. This is comparable to a prince who sinned against his father, and his father's friend placated the king on his behalf once, twice, and three times. When he offended the fourth time, the friend became disheartened and said, how much more can I trouble the king? Perhaps he will no longer accept my petition. And that's from Midrash.
From the Midrash. From the Midrash. We can say the exact Midrash, people can see. So basically, what's happening here is Moses doesn't really know what to do. I will say it like that. He knows that he needs to pray. By the way, he will pray. In another few minutes, you will see he will pray. He will ask for the forgiveness of the Hebrew people. And when God will say to him, let's see it again, let's see it again. Those are things that we need to see. First of all, he's doing a test. I will say it like that, okay? The test, he spoke, please read verse number 5.
Verse 5. He spoke to Korah and to all his company, saying, in the morning the Lord will make known who is his and who is holy, and he will draw them near to him, and the one who he chooses, he will draw near to him.
Okay, so God, Moses basically saying, you know what? But I don't need to decide. Let's God to do this decision, and he will show it to everybody else. I just want to show, first of all, something very important, that how Moses is praying here also for all of the people around. And then, okay. Please read verse 20, 21, and 22, please.
20. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, disassociate yourselves from this congregation, and I will consume them in an instant. They fell on their faces and said, O God, the God of the spirits of all flesh, if one man sins, shall you be angry with the whole congregation?
Okay, we know that already, that Moses, this is the way that he is dealing with things, okay? He is not accepting that God will kill the nation, the Hebrew nation, even if God is promising him that Moses will replace the Hebrew nation. And this is, again, we can see this as some sort of a consultant thing inside the judge court of God. Fair enough. But I want to teach you something very, very important that our sages are learning from this situation. And to do that, I need to explain, first of all, that in the Hebrew tradition, and I'm very careful with my words, because it's the Hebrew tradition, we are not only asking that people will do deeds. As I said before, we are speaking about holiness of the man. And the holiness of each one of us is what we think, what we speak, and what we do. Those are three things that are supposed to be in holiest way. You can't think one thing and do other things, because it's a Hebrew way of life. So you need also to get the right mindset. And we know that the Rambam, the Maimonides, he said that there are 13, 3, important rules that each person is supposed to believe if you want to be part of the Jewish, I will say, mindset, the Hebrew mindset. Now, it also relates to the Noahide people. But to have 13 things, it's very hard. So we have sages who went along and said that It's not supposed to be 13. It could be 6. It could be 3. And then at the end of the end, we know that our sages are saying that there's one main rule, that if you believe in this rule, everything else will go from that. Okay? There are rules, for example, there are things that we need to understand, that God is punishing the sinners. Even though if we are looking on this world, we won't be able to see that. We will see people who are very bad behavior from one side and really successful on the other side. But we know that God will punish them, if not in this world, in the next world, in the world to come. Another thing that we believe, that at the end of the days, people will live back again. The righteous people will live back from, even though they died a few hundred years ago. Another thing that we know is that God is speaking with people, what we call the prophecy. But there is one rule that is collecting all of the other rules from out of it. And the one rule is that there is a very big differentiation, very big difference between the wordings of the Bible, that God spoke them, and the wordings of all of the other scriptures, also those who are being held as a holy scriptures, okay? Because this scripture, this Bible that God gave to Moses, everything was being said and written down because God said it. How exactly God spoke, I don't know, because he's not a body, but he spoke. And from where do we know that everything that God said, it wasn't the mindset of Moses, it was straight ahead from God? We are learning this in the continuance of this story. Please, now we're going to read a few verses. We will start in 23, and I will tell you when to stop. Okay? So please.
23. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the congregation, saying, Withdraw from the dwelling of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Moses arose and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. He spoke to the congregation, saying, Please, get away from the tents of these wicked men, and do not touch anything of theirs, lest you perish because of all their sins. So they withdrew from around the dwelling of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, and Dathan and Abiram went out standing upright at the entrance of their tents, together with their wives, their children, and their infants. Moses said, With this you shall know that the Lord sent me to do all these deeds, for I did not devise them myself. If these men die, as all men die, and the fate of all men will be visited upon them, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord creates a creation, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them and all that is theirs, and they descend alive into the grave, you will know that these men have provoked the Lord.
Please read. Please continue on another.
Sure. As soon as he finished speaking, all these words, the earth beneath them split open. The earth beneath them opened its mouth and swallowed them and their houses and all the men who were with Korah and all the property. They and all they possessed descended alive into the grave. The earth covered them up, and they were lost to the assembly. All Israel who were around them fled from their cities, for they said, Lest the earth swallow us up too. A fire came forth from the Lord and consumed the 250 men who had offered up the incense.
What we see here, I'm speaking about very simplest story that we saw here now, that Moses is giving here some sort of, I will say, it's like a measurement. I will say it like that. He is measuring, okay? If I'm right, they're going to get something very horrible. But if I'm wrong, they're going to die as normal people when they're sleeping another 120 years, when they will finish the 120 years of them. And on the spot, God is opening the mouth of the earth, and they are swallowing Korach and all of his people around. Now, we need to see for a moment what is the main question here, okay, that is happening. And the main question Moses is saying here, please, let's read verse number 28 again.
28.
Just a moment, let me mark it a bit. Just a moment, let me say, no, come on, doesn't want to get marked. Okay.
28. Moses said, with this you shall know that the Lord sent me to do all these deeds, for I did not devise them myself.
Okay, we see here a very important thing. This temple, the main thing that Moses wants to have recognition that he didn't do anything from himself. And the Maimonides is taking this sentence, and after that also the Maharal and others, okay, the Abarbanel, I won't say it because it's all of the Hebrew tradition rabbis. You won't find anyone else who's speaking about something else, taking this sentence and saying, now you need to understand. Everything that is written down in the Bible, it came from heaven. God said those words, not the English words, the Hebrew words. But the Hebrew words are very, very exact. And only this book, the 5 books of Moses, and then we know that you have also all the prophets. But the 5 books of Moses, those are 5 books that were not written by men. They were not written by Moses. Moses went up to heaven and he wrote down all the words that God told him to write. And the words that are written in the Bible are coming from a different dimension. They're coming from something else, from somewhere else, from pure from God, from pure from heaven, pure from heaven. It's not connected to any thoughts that people put inside. You can't compare this not to the New Testament, a very, very funny word, okay? New Testament. You can't compare it to any other holy text. You can find a lot of holy texts, okay? You can find in Buddha holy text. You can find in the Quran holy text. You can find a lot of texts that are getting a lot of holiness from people. But everything was written down by people. The only text that was written down by God, God is not writing down anything because he's not a human. It's not something that you can feel or see. So we have Moses. And this is what is happening here. What is happening here that God is showing us that everything that Moses did and all the deeds and everything that he's writing is all related because God said it to Moses. And all of the words, everything, it's all written down here from God. And this is bringing us to a different level. You can take all of the things around and you can look in the Bible, and the Bible is something else. The Bible is the words of God. And here he showed it in front of a big crowd, all of the nation of Israel. I want to say something that maybe I'm not sure that everybody knows that, okay? But Jesus and years after that, Muhammad, both of them had been asked from the Hebrew rabbis to prove that they are real prophets. And both of them rejected. They said, we don't need to prove it. Now, there is a very complicated way, I will say it like that, that the sages of Israel have, I will say, the secret ingredients, how to prove if someone is a real prophet or he is only illusion, imaginating, some nonsense. I'm not speaking even on the level of prophecy. Moses was, in this text that he wrote, he was above the level of prophecy. It was something else. It was a very high level that he heard from God exactly what to write, and those are the words that he wrote. And when we understand that, we're going to this, it's not a text, okay, to those words of God in a very different approach. Like, first of all, we are understanding that we're speaking with God, God is speaking with us. I'll say it like that. It's more exact. God is speaking with us, and we need, to understand what exactly He spoke with us. It's not that just let's read it and everything is okay. Okay. Also, this story that everybody knows this story. You never thought that this is the main issue of the story. Okay, but this is it. This is the main issue of the story. The main issue of the story is Moses invented it from himself, or Moses basically was God's
Messenger. Yeah.
messenger, but empty from himself. Empty. What we saw in the other verse, have no anything from himself in this part, and this is what God is saying. He is empty. He is my servant, and He's bringing exactly my words, and those are my words. And now let's learn this Bible. And maybe this is, if you're asking me, maybe it was supposed to be the first lesson that we did. Never mind. Okay, so with the things, and I was woken up to teach this lesson because of what I saw with the people who are so still, okay, so related and so inside this Jesus story. And again, I'm not sure that I will continue with them because the gap is so big. But never mind them. We managed to receive this lesson because of them. So we need to say to them thank you also, even though. Okay, questions, people. What do you want to say? Now I finished, and we have another 20 minutes until the next lesson will come. So if you have any questions, any notes, anything that you want to say, this is the time. Yes.
Well, Rabbi, really, in my journey out of Christianity, I found for 15 years, I was reading a lot of Hebrew literature, trying to digest, decipher, understand exactly what Hashem was doing. The more I was reading and studying, the more I found this question, this point that you brought up today. I would ask them often, and they were so fixated on belief. And my question was, well, did Hashem or did Almighty God call you to this? Did He actually, and no one person can actually put our voice into Hashem's mouth. Heaven forbid, right? Hashem is Almighty. Hashem is Hashem. And if He determines to do something, He and He alone stands. And so in this instance, I think He made it crystal clear that separate from them, and I will do this. Hashem owned this. I will open up the earth and swallow Korah, and He made it crystal clear that it's not Moses. It's not a mediator. He made it crystal clear that it was the real deal. And this is all that I find a lot of people within the 70 nations are looking for. They want the real deal. Is it Hashem that has done this? And I love how you explained that today. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rabbi. Anybody else got any questions for Rabbi?
You're welcome, but don't forget, I'm going to take this part and to send it around the globe. Yes, Scotty, yes, I'm listening.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Goldberg, for this class. Thank you for every class you take the time to prepare.
I will send this thank you. I will send to my wife because she's losing my time.
Okay. I have a question about an earlier text that you read before you went to the Parsha in Exodus 32 and 32. And now I'm reading this out of the Archstro Hamish. It says, and now if you would forgive their sins, but if not, erase me now from your book that you have written. Now, my previous walk, we were taught that book was a book of just names, and you discovered through the Parsha that Hashem didn't. We're not talking about a handwritten book. We're talking about like maybe promise or a positional. Could you give an elaboration of this book here, what he is talking about? Did I make that question plain?
Yeah, because those coming out of the 70 nations believe there's an actual book of life, And I've learned, Scotty, is that Hashem knows all about all ways, over all time, all at once, and forever. I mean, just gripping and grasping this thought. I'll let the rabbi share.
I understand. I think I understand your question. The question is, what is exactly this book? Okay, that God is reading, right? There are a few ways how to look on this book that God is writing. Okay, one of them is to look and to say the Bible is the book that God wrote. This is one way to look at it. And then Moses is asking, wipe me off, do a different Bible, swipe me off from this Bible. I don't want to be part of this game. Okay, if you are willing to kill the Hebrew people because of their sin, don't put me in this game. I will say it I will say it with much more color. Okay, Moses is going down from the mountain and he's holding the 10 Commandments. Okay, the 10 Commandments, who said them? God said them. And the 10 Commandments, second commandment, don't worship any false god, right? And he's looking at the 10 Commandments and he says, don't worship false god. And he's looking down underneath the mountain and he sees the Hebrew nation worshiping a false god. So he's saying to himself, one of those things are wrong. Or that this will stay, the stones, okay, and this nation will wipe off, like God said, or that the stone will break down, and he broke them down, the stones. So God said to him, what are you doing? He said to him, I don't know what happened. He says, but it's written down there that what they're doing is wrong. So he said, it's not written, it's broken. Okay, so when you're doing the debate between the Hebrew nation and where exactly it's written down, okay, so the answer is, one way to explain, the Bible is where it's written down. Okay, and this is what Moses did. He broke the Bible, he broke the 10 Commandments. The second thing is to understand that the reality that we have today, it's reality that God created. All the reality, okay? You are also written down in God's book because you're part of the reality here, okay? And Dan is also written down. And Hans is also written down. Emula is written down. Everybody here is written down in God's book. Now the question is, on what part of God's book it's written down? We have 3 books of God, okay? We have the books of the righteoushood, we have the books of the people who are evil, and we have the books of the people who are intermediate, okay? By the way, the word evil, do all of you know that there is a dictionary? I saw it in my eyes. There's a dictionary of 20,000 words in English, that the source of those words in the Hebrew language. One of the words is the word evil. The word evil is written down in the Hebrew language as avel. Avel is bad deeds, okay? Evil is doing bad deeds. So we have 3 books, okay? These are metaphoric books of those that in this reality, that the righteoushood, those who are evil, and those who are intermediate, in between, okay? And Moses is saying to him, erase me from those books. I don't want to be mentioned in this history. I don't want to be part of this history. This is basically what Moses is saying. He's screaming to God. He's saying to him, this is not the way that, and again, I want us to look at this more like they're revealing what's happening in God's court when God is the judge and Moses is the lawyer that is representing the Hebrew nation. Okay, let's look at this way. So there's a debate there inside. What's happening? At the end, God is doing something. He's killing those who did the sins, and he's punishing the Hebrew people, and he's not killing all of them all the way. Okay, so he did something in the middle. The truth is, they were supposed to be killed, but the reality is something it's a bit more compromised, the reality, how exactly to continue with what's happening here. Okay, so this is basically how it's written down, and I gave 2 explanations what is the book of God. Okay, more questions, more people. What do you have to say? If you have any, yes, Mama Jean, I can't hear you. You're speaking to yourself. Just a moment. Let's start from the beginning. Let's see.
Mama Jean is in the UK.
Yes, even though she have a an Australian no, come
Accent.
on, no, it's not only Australian accent. She also have an Australian email. Okay.
Do I? Okay.
Yes, now we can hear you. Yes.
I'm just thinking about it. These Israelites that had been slaves in Egypt for I don't know how many 100 years, by which laws were they living?
Very good question. There's the
Were
imagination.
they literate?
There's the imagination, and there's also what is written down in the Bible. Okay, the imagination is saying that they were very pure people and they were slaves and everything else. In the Bible, in Yechezkel, in chapter 19 and 20, it says there that the Hebrew people basically became part like the Egyptians in their behavior, and except for 2-3 things, they almost reacted the same like the Egyptians.
Right.
Okay,
So
with
this
everything.
was a completely new scenario for them, was this?
Yes.
I mean, what I'm getting at here is you can't really blame them for making a golden calf, because at this point,
you're more
which
than
laws were they
right.
following? They
You're
didn't
more
have
than
any
right.
rules or
You're more
laws.
than right. Now we need to separate a bit because the Levitax people in Israel, they they still had the destiny of the forefathers, and they were very pure. But except for them, the rest of the Israelis had different difficulties. Another thing that we need to remember, and it's also written down very nice in those verses. I didn't went inside to this part. When we will come to Genesis, we'll speak about this. The main people, we're speaking about 600,000 men above 20, okay? And we have only 3,500 people who died from the golden craft because they sinned in the golden craft. And what is written down that it was more the Egyptians who came along with the Hebrew people. There is a very big group of Egyptians who came along with the Hebrew people, and they did the golden craft. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't any Israeli people who went along with them, but the main sinners were the people who joined the Hebrew people. Okay, and it's also written down that they were after Moses, because it says like that, Kizeh Moshe, Moses is gone. But you know, most of the Hebrew people were, I would say, not really blind after Moses. They were more wanted or achieving the question, when are they coming to the Hebrew land, as it was promised to the forefathers. So those are two different kind of people inside this nation. It's like today, for example, we have the Labour and I will say the other party, okay, in England, okay? We have in the United States, we have the Democrats and the Republicans. Each nation also have few inside the nation. So also in the Hebrew nation, they had few groups, I will say it like that. But we didn't went inside too much to this, I think. I mainly wanted to show how Moses is willing to give his life for his nation. And this is how exactly a shepherd need to do in his life, to give himself for his nation, for his group, for his community. And this is what we need to learn from him. Okay, more questions, more notes, more things that you want to say. Anna, I think, just a moment, Paul, we'll give you to say. Anna, I think that it's the first time I see the nice guy next to you, right?
Oh,
Hello.
no, he was always beside me.
Okay, I missed you.
It's Morgan.
Okay.
Hello.
Good
Hi.
to see you.
Thank you.
Yes, Paul, you wanted to ask something. Yes.
You're talking to me, Rabbi?
Yeah. You wanted to
How
ask
you
something.
doing,
Yes.
Rabbi? Thank you. You were talking about the Arab Rav earlier, the mixed multitude that left Egypt, and the explanation of when the Jews were slaves in Egypt and when they left. I wanted to ask a question, it's a little offbeat, but I wanted to ask, as Noahides, are we obligated towards the people around us that come and they try to bring the message of Christ to us and stuff. Are we obligated to teach them, or are we supposed to step back and not really involve ourselves with that?
Basically, you're asking me if to behave like Noah or to behave like Abraham.
Exactly.
We need to do our best to behave like Abraham, okay? But we're not supposed to have any fights or any, I will say, we need to behave as a decent people. If there are people who don't want to listen to us, so we can tell them, okay, very nice, fair enough. You can stay like that, it's okay. But we need to do our best like Abraham.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, we should always have our tent open like Abraham.
Exactly. And the way that Abraham did it, and we said it more than once, he gave food, okay? And I'm telling you the secret. When you will bring people to your table on the weekends and you will do a barbecue, you're from Africa, South Africa?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Oh, no, well, Texas.
Texas. Oh, it's okay. It's Texas. It's the same.
Texas. We have a lot of barbecues.
Exactly. This is the same thing. It's okay. So do a barbecue, okay? And invite your friends. When you're sitting down and eating, you can start to speak after that also. Because the eating is also teaching us that we can't live without taking something from outside from us that will give us living. Okay, and the same thing, we can start to speak with a lot of things that are related to faith and the real faith. So when you will start doing barbecues and invite people, you will see that suddenly you're managing to speak with them a lot of things. And again, everything in common sense. Don't forget, you need to behave in the right way. Don't be weird. You need to be part of your community.
Well, look, I came out of Catholic religion, and I don't want to carry around the sword, because they're the father of the sword, And I have outside in my patio, and when I have gatherings, I have a huge poster frame and everything, the 7 Noahide laws. So anybody that asks about it, I tell them.
Excellent.
So, and
Excellent.
I don't force nothing on nobody, but I just wanted to know if that was okay.
It's excellent. Yeah, it's excellent what you're doing. You reminded me that one of the things that they asked me when I spoke with those
Catholics.
With those Catholic people, they asked me, but you don't believe that Jesus was the Messiah? So I said to them, if I remember correctly, it says that the Messiah, when he will come, there won't be any wars anymore. And I said to them, you need to answer me if this is what happened when Jesus came here to this world, since in the last 2,000 years. So they said to me, we understand that you're in a different position.
Well, they're always, can I say this, Rabbi? They're always ready for a fight because they carry Constantine's sword with them constantly. Okay? And I've been in there. You know what I'm saying?
I understand, but we don't need to go. Let me tell you something, not only you, also something here that I have from my experience, okay? As I told you, I think more than once, I was for 30 years, I was dealing with youth, and I was also a high school principal for a very long time, for 15 years. I was a high school principal. And one of the things that happened, in the last 10 years, I was a high school principal of very, very unique kids who had a lot of disabilities. And it's very difficult to deal with kids who have disabilities. And on the other side, you need also to define exactly with what range of kids you're dealing, okay, adults you're dealing, and with what range you're not dealing, okay? For example, I'm not dealing with people who are dumb, who don't have a knowledge. There are people who have a very low IQ. All sorts of reasons we didn't deal with them in our school. So more than once, I think that every year I had something like 4 or 5 or 6 people that we had we didn't accept to our school. We had a very good school. We got a lot of prizes from the government, and a lot of people wanted to come to our school, and we had it wasn't in the range of the people that we can give them what we can give, not the best for them. And I took the parents aside and told them, listen, you have limited powers that you can use with your life. You can try to fight against my school. I'm telling you, you won't manage. You will see, you won't manage. Take all of these powers and find the right school for your kids. Okay? And this is basically what I'm saying also with the thing of the Christianity. I'm not trying to fight others.
Right.
If they're not in the level that they want to have a discussion, when I'm saying I'm coming and I'm bringing things that are different, that you never heard, that in the last 2,000 years people didn't spoke about them. I'm just revealing secrets that we have inside the Hebrew nation. If you're willing to listen, fair enough. You don't need to believe to everything. Do with yourself what you want. But if you want to silence me, if you want to silence me, I'm not going to speak with you. Okay, this is a principle. Sorry?
I'm sorry. I've had people come to me and they want to know. They ask me, what is this? What is the moral high movement? What is it about? And I try to explain it the best I can, but at the same time, there's those that want to, they want to argue. They want to, start arguing. And
Paul,
Dan,
just to let you know, Paul, you can't fill a bottomless pit. You just cannot fill a bottomless pit. The only thing that you can do with a bottomless pit is you put a cap on it and you walk away, right?
Yeah,
if it's a bottomless pit, it's a danger, it's a hazard. And so argumentative people, you need to understand where there's a hazard, and discern the hazard, but the opportunity will open.
When I say Catholics carry around Constantine's sword, it's not nothing derogative. I mean, it's, Constantine had a lot to do with it, But,
folks, Paul is on the border he's in San Antonio, Texas. Now he's on the border of Mexico. So, he's, you deal with a lot of people coming from specific areas that are more ingrained with certain traditions. It makes a difference. But the great thing, Paul, is that Torah is true. Now, Rabbi, we're past that 20-minute mark.
Yes. I know. We need to finish with a very important sentence that will explain why Moses came to this high level. And it's because he was never a full battle. Okay? He was never a full battle. He was a very, very, exceedingly humble. Okay?
Exceedingly humble.
He was with a lot of humility.
Yes.
And this is why he was in such a higher level. We need to understand that. And those who are very full with themselves, it's very nice. I don't need to argue with everybody. Okay, fine, thank you. It's okay. Continue on. Those who don't want to break the roof ceiling of themselves, it's their problem. It's really their problem. Okay.
Well, Rabbi,
thank you so much, Rabbi, and thank you, Dan. Dan, I'm still waiting for my golden ticket.
Well, Rabbi, I really love today how you talked about fire being hot and building a fire and warming those in your community, warming those around you, versus those that want that blanket fix for themselves, okay? If they want just that blanket fix to cover themselves and keep themselves warm versus building a fire. Fire is naturally hot. And folks, if you're shining the light properly or reflecting the Torah properly, you're going to emanate some heat and people are going to know it. They may challenge it. And we had some of that conversation in the YouTube chat box today about, when I share, I tend to get a lot of opposition. Some people were saying, and others were saying, I find, it's different. And so we need to understand that, if we start shining light or reflecting heat in some degree, some people don't know how to cope with or deal with, and so they resist. But, it's not something you can grasp, so I think Rabbi shared a beautiful, beautiful lesson today. So, Rabbi, are we on for next week tentatively?
Next week, hopefully, not a problem at all. See you all next week. Have a great week.
Is that it?
Okay.
Rabbi.
Thank you.
Excellent to see you
Thank
all.
you.
All right,
Uh,
folks. So it sounds like till next week we're on, and it's been wonderful. It's Father's Day here in the West, and Rabbi, we wish you all the best for Father's Day. Even though I know you don't celebrate it there, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot with your father earlier today, but it was great. Folks, have a wonderful, wonderful week.